Paul Gallant Show, and I'm joined by a very special guest, a man who I have seen on two of my favorite television shows, which I've rewatched over and over and over again. First, Chappelle Show, which was the, hey, we just got home drunk from the bars at Syracuse show that we would watch over and over. We had
Wednesday
the whole set
night,
on DVD.
10:30.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
After South Park, right?
Of course, yeah.
That's how I first watched it.
Yeah.
I was trying to sneak watch South Park, and then I think the episode where the Clayton Bigsby skit happened, I was like, holy crap, this show.
I think that was the first episode.
Yeah.
That was the first episode. And it was like, you always have a lot of different sketch shows and stuff, but it was just something about that show and that Clayton Bigsby sketch. It made you feel like, whoa, this is something that's totally different from anything I've seen probably in the last 20 years.
Did you know that when you were making these shows?
I did. The crazy thing about it, I think I predicted the ratings. I predicted the success of that show way before Neil Brennan and Dave did. And the reason why, because Dave has a company, his production company is called Pilot Boy Productions. And he named it that because he had so many, he was a golden child in Hollywood, young age, everybody loved him, Whoopi, Mel Brooks, everybody, he was that guy. And everybody was giving him shots, but he had all these pilots, but none of them were getting greenlit. So he named his company Pilot Boy. So when they got to Comedy Central with this, I know he probably was a bit frustrated, like, oh, here we go again. I want to do it my way. Nobody's making a lot of money, but at least I'll get a little bit more creative control. But I thought he felt that was going to be something different. But when he put that team together with me, Charlie Murphy, Bill Burr, Neil Brennan, Brian Tucker, Patrice O'Neill, R.I.P., Rich Voss, and so many other people, it was like he finally got the chemistry he wanted because he was the boss of it, you know.
Right.
But I knew it because Dave always had a strong following mainstream. Like he came up in the college circuit, you know, doing college stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll just put it like this: at the beginning of Dave's career, white people loved him. They loved him. Black people loved him, but some people, because you don't have the patience to respect somebody that's not just being funny, but giving a message, saying something that's important, saying something that's life-changing. So it kind of took a while for, if you want to say, the hoods or the streets to connect with Dave. And I'm sure it was, I'm almost 100% certain that it was what he did on the Chappelle Show for Comedy Central, which brought everybody to Dave. He always had this one group of people, but this one was like the street dudes, the weed dealers, you know what I'm saying? The coke dealers. It was just like, it was that one platform where everybody got to check him out. And I was lucky enough to be a part of that at the beginning and through to the end of it.
It's awesome that you were a part of it. Donnell Rawlings is going to be at the Houston Improv this weekend. How did you first meet him? Because obviously there's a lot of fortune that takes place in anybody who has a successful career. Right. And I imagine that you guys met maybe on the comedy scene or something like that.
The crazy way we met was our reputations, right? Dave is probably, I'm older than Dave, but he's older, more senior to me in comedy. So we both from D.C. area. And then whenever you're from a town like that or anything outside of New York or L.A., you always wonder, like, you wonder who left, who said, I'm going to go for it. The biggest step when I first started was like leaving D.C., either going to New York or L.A. That was your first step of I'm trying to do something. So when I started, Dave had already been in New York for like 3 years. And when I started, I'm not being cocky, somebody said, Donnell, the first time I ever touched a microphone, I go to Court of Standing O. I was doing comedy for 4 months, and I made it to Def Comedy Jam.
Wow.
So I was burning the circuit up in D.C., and people were talking about me, but I would always say, yo, man, who the funny ones that left, right? And the name would always come up, Dave Chappelle. Oh, Dave Chappelle is a beast. He's a beast, man. And I'm like, what make him a beast, right? And then it was like, he's young, he's smart comedy. I was like, so I ain't that much younger, but I can do that. But it wasn't like nothing personal, but we want to know, like, who we gonna follow, like who we gonna look up to, and like showing us the way to get there. So I would always ask a question. They would always say, Dave Chappelle, he went to New York. We hadn't even met. And then on my 50th birthday, Dave explained the story how we met, right? And it was so interesting because I was asking those questions. Then Dave, whenever he would come to D.C., he would ask the same question: who's hot here, right? And then, is this live?
It is live.
Okay. I'll beat
I
myself.
know it's the worst.
No, it's not worse.
The FCC, man.
No, I'm telling you, the baddest people are the one that can still get a job done under the guidelines. So that's nothing.
You know what? You're making me feel so good about.
No,
myself.
I'm real talk. Don't even straight that. You can find different words. I went to some country music concerts, right? And they talk about sex and cheating more than any R&B or hip hop song. They just use different words, right? So Dave would come back and he was like, "Who's popping?" And Dave said on stage, he said it would always be the usual suspects, these guys. And he said everybody would say, but there's this one kid named Donnell Rawlings that's smoking. And Dave said, man, F Donnell Rawlings. That same, it was the same thing. And then I moved to New York, and because we're both from DC, we just crossed each other's paths. And our relationship was more built on respecting what we do with a mic. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference between a lot of I'll say the older comics opposed to the younger comics. Now, the young comics now, today, they don't really look up to anybody. They don't look for mentorship or anything like that. They just like this. And there's nothing wrong with it. How many followers? How many clicks?
Right.
You can make yourself a superstar. And I'm not mad at it. You know, some people they don't,
But it's easier than it was perhaps because you can post stuff on TikTok and it might just blow up.
You have more eyeballs.
Right.
I came up from an era where it was word of mouth. You had to be popular in one city. You know what I'm saying? Like you say, you start in San Antonio. Then they heard about you in Austin. Then they heard about you in Houston. It was the same thing with DC, Virginia. You had to build that. It was word of mouth, and you had to go up there and kill every night. But there's a nice way to experience the best of both worlds. You know what I'm saying? If you can figure out a way, I tell everybody, instead of being mad at it, figure out how you can use it to your best interest. One of my good friends, Nate Jackson, right? Kimmy and I've been known for years, and always had a moderate amount of success doing stand-up. He caught a lick with TikTok where they just caught on, and now he's selling out everywhere. Youngin Matt Rife, who is killing the game now, and I was one of the first guys that gave Matt Rife a shot to work with a headliner, to feature, to do that. And, he always was doing well in his career, but he figured out the TikTok strategy. Now he's killing it. So if you can find a way to, still, because I care about it, still be good at the art of stand-up and use the technology and platforms you have now, more power to you.
It's something I want to try at some point.
Wait a minute. What?
I've wanted to try stand-up before.
Whoa. How long have you been wanting to try stand-up?
The last 2 years, I've written things. My big problem, this is why I respect you guys so much. I did a roast once. You get to read off a script. It's a lot easier when you read off a script. I'm terrified I'm just going to forget everything that I say, let alone that I won't be funny.
Let me tell you something, bro. You are. I tell people all the time, and I'm going to tell you something. I love when I meet people like you. I've pushed so many people like you. I've been thinking about it for 2 years. Stop wasting time.
Just do it.
Stop wasting time. It does not matter how long you write those jokes. You're going to forget them. And what's going to happen is you're going to black out for a second. You're going to forget them. And something natural, I'm telling you some real stuff, something that the reason why you want to do it, you're funny, somebody told you funny. It doesn't necessarily work out that way.
Right.
Something's going to trigger you. Something funny is going to happen. Then you're going to get out of the cloud, and whatever that joke is, it'll probably be one you remember. You live here. I'll tell you this. This weekend, you come and your first time you ever go on stage be at my show.
You sure?
Yo, I'm telling you. No, I'm telling you.
I don't want to bomb it.
Yo, listen. I'm telling you. I mean this. And I'm not going to play you. And anytime I've done this for anybody, whatever, I don't lie to people talking about he's great. I was like, what I like to do is give people opportunity. I like to see the birth of a comedian. I like to see something that gets them inspired. But if you want to come, you got 5 minutes. All right. Well, let's do Saturday.
Okay.
Late show.
Okay.
All right.
I'm in.
You got my word. It's 5 minutes. You know what the light is, right?
I do.
You know what the light is.
I figured it out the time I did the roast. I was like, wait, have I gone too long? I was looking for the light.
Roasting is not a good way to start comedy because
I agree.
You become it's a hot thing right now, but the only thing that just so old. Only thing that beats a failure is a try.
Yeah.
You gotta try it.
I'm with you on that.
All right.
I'm fascinated by your career because I was looking into your Wikipedia page, of course.
Right.
And so you served in the Air Force.
Yeah.
You lived in South Korea.
Yeah.
How do you get from there to doing what you ended up doing?
Well, my journey was I was a military police officer when I was in the Air Force, and after I got out, I went back to D.C. I was waiting to be a D.C. police officer. This is so crazy. A lot of people don't know it, but people that follow me, they know it. So I'm waiting to be a D.C. police officer. So I took a job as head of security for this grocery chain called Safeway. I had like 7 grocery stores that I was like the general of the rent-a-cops. You know what I'm saying? Like I came up with my own training manuals and everything, and I was doing that. And in one particular store that I used to go visit, there was a guy that works for Hostess Cupcake Company, right? He had a regular job a day and was a comedian at night. And he would give away free tickets to promote the comedy show because it was like a lot of young people there that worked there. And he would give out tickets, come to the show, to try to, stack the room. I started going, and I started heckling the comedians. And I became an incredible heckler. Like the professional comedians would come in and be like, listen, man, don't mess with me. I'm trying to work on them. And I would just go in. So club owner wanted to shut me up. He invited me to actually put my name on the open mic list. I finally did that. I went on stage. The first, sorry about that.
Spielberg blowing you up?
Yes, Spielberg. It is a bird, though. It is a bird. I'm sorry. It is a bird. It's a Steinberg. It's a Steinberg. Hold on. Hello? I'll send that to you, but I'm doing an interview right now. And when I came in, I told them I'm passing on Spielberg's offer. They was like, "That's Spielberg again?" I said, "No, but it is a Berg." All right, I'll send it to you now. I'm sorry, you disrupted it, but I had to let them know that Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to F with. All right? All right.
Donnell Rawlings in studio. He's going to be at the Houston Improv this weekend.
What did I say? What was the last thing you said?
We were talking about you being an MP in South Korea.
Yeah,
and you were a heckler at these crowds, at these stand-up events.
Yeah, and so what happened was they invited me to go on stage because normally that's how you shut up a heckler. You just tell them to go on stage. I went on stage, and it was just like 30 years later, I never looked back. And it was like once I went on the stage, like I said, I caught a standing O. And part of it was I thought I had material. I did some crowd stuff, but it was because I had been going here for like 2 months, and people felt that I was funny. And you could tell it was going to be the birth of a comedian. You could tell like, oh man, this dude in the chair, we wanted him to go up there. And when I did it, I went up, caught a standing O, and it was that moment I was like, this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And I had to figure out a way to get fired from my job so I could have the security of unemployment for 6 months to relocate to New York. And I did that. I did that, and I never looked back.
That's
and never gave myself a plan B, never made no excuses. And I tell people when they first start, what should I expect? I was like, first off, you have to be able to be happy and broke. If you can't be happy with being broke, entertainment is a very tough business to be in. You got to be able to find your happiness with all the fancy things. They'll come if you put the work in it, but you got to be able to put the work into it.
The work. It is key. Some of the work you did. I watched Chappelle show a ton in college, drunk, coming home from the bars. The first show that I ever binge watched was The Wire.
Right.
My friend gave me a DVD set of The Wire, and I remember watching it through, and I forget what episode it was. I'm like, holy crap, that's Ashley Larry.
No, it's so funny. Ashley Larry's an iconic character, but it's so funny. Everything that I've done since Chappelle show, they still call me Ashley Larry and whatever it is. Like when I was in Spider-Man 2, right? People was like in the theater like, oh man, it's Ashley Larry. But now because I've done other things and I never got mad at people calling me Ashley Larry. I was like this, okay, it's an iconic character that I came up with, I created, whatever. I was like, but the only thing is going to make people not call me that is doing other stuff. And some people just so connected, I don't get pissed. Like it's so hard to be known for anything in this business. If you want to call me Ashley Larry, it ain't no big deal to me.
I heard Ice Cube say that the other day about how people come up to him from Friday and say, you got knocked the F out still. Right. And he's like, you know what? It's pretty cool that people still remember that
20 years
moment.
later, that's what I'm saying. It's like, and people I'm like, that was, I'm rich at the end of that. Yeah. That's one of the most iconic phrases in the history. When I toured with Dave Chappelle, I toured with Dave Chappelle, toured with Chris Rock, whatever. And I'm telling you, it's hard to follow those 3 words when I say it. And at the end of the show, we'll do the show and all of us come on stage and Dave will be like, yo, man, just close us out like the old days. And when I say that phrase, I'm talking about 15,000, 20, 25,000 people go ape. You know, and I mean, it is what it is. People are like, yeah, oh yeah, he fell off since Chappelle show. No, I didn't fall off. It's just so happened that I was a part of a show that is a part of television history. You already named another one. Entertainment Weekly, maybe 3 years ago, they did an article, right? And they said, they did a cover. It was a 100 top television shows in the history, not for a couple of days, in the history of TV. Chappelle Show and The Wire.
It's crazy.
We're both on there. And guess who was both on that?
You.
So if that doesn't stand for my legacy or anything, anytime you talk about dramas, guess what? The Wire is going to pop up. Anytime you talk about comedy, Chappelle Show going to pop up.
You were in scenes with 2 iconic actors. Everyone loves Isaiah Whitlock as Clay Davis, who you're the aide for. Right, I know. Oh, my gosh. Every single time he says that, the way that he drags it out. But obviously, you also were in a scene with the late Lance Reddick where you 2 were sitting down at a table.
Man. I love to crack this crib, man. Mm-hmm. Good day's work. Good day. That one right there, I take it so-and-so. What's your name? Dave. My name is Dave Price, but I mostly go by Day Day. He said, my name is Daniels. I mostly go by Lieutenant. Now, nobody knows this story, this fact, unless you heard me say it before. The character of Omar came down to me and Mike.
No way.
Robert Colesberg, executive producer of the show, right? Because the way I got on that show,
You've been on Corners, right? On
Corner.
HBO.
Yeah, that's Corner. A lot of people don't know that either. That was a spinoff. But the story of the Corner was so dark, you can't just keep. Oh, everybody's gonna die. They're heroin addicts, so they had to do a spin, right? My thought. Let me get my thought. Where was I?
You're talking about how it was down to you.
Me and Mike. So I get on set, and Robert Colesberg, he said, Omar came down to you and Mike. Right, but first off, I didn't know he was a gay gangster. Because when I had my size, I didn't know it. I just thought they didn't have no kissing scenes or anything. It was just dude like in a courtyard, like
right.
And he said, but we wanted to save you for this role. We thought it's going to have more depth. But if you notice, there was a lot of unanswered questions with my character. The money, they pulled me over, got to give me $25,000 back. There's nothing else to answer that. What happened was, the Baltimore Tourism Board complained to the producer and everybody. It was like, every time you guys do something in Baltimore, it always puts Baltimore in a bad light. But then you want to say, well, show me a good part of Baltimore. We can switch it, right? No disrespect, but Baltimore.
You're from not that far away, right?
Yeah,
you would know.
Yeah, but it's a tough city. It's some good places, but it's definitely a tough city, a deprived city. It's just a tough city. So what happened was they complained so much, they had to change the storyline from the towers to the docks. That's why it switched like that. And what happened was my character got lost because they switched the whole storyline.
Right.
But David Simon is such a loyal guy, and he really believes in, like, David Simon's been working with people for like 35 years, same people. And he wanted to just pay homage to, me being on that. And he brought me back. And we was at a party one day, and it was at a party for The Wire. And he was telling me, he said, yeah, Donnell played great role on The Wire in the Corner. But he said he saved his most famous work for the Chappelle Show. And that made me feel good knowing that David Simon, dude, critically acclaimed, a beast, watched Chappelle Show, appreciated the humor I brought. And even when I auditioned originally for The Corner, I played a heroin addict, right? And you couldn't tell me I blew that audition. I was in audition. I said, oh man, I was just throwing talent. Casting director, Jackie Brown Carmen, she said, Donnell, you okay? God is in the room. You good. Right? I was like, I don't know if God's going to give me this role, right? And I got the role. And then when I talked to David Simon on set, I was like, how the hell did I get this? I said, I thought I bombed in the audition. They said, we like the fact that you threw the lines away. Like, went off script. I was like, well, you like the fact that I didn't remember the lines? Okay. If that's the way to get roles, I won't remember nothing. Just let me go. He said, we like the way you threw away the lines, and then you didn't feed into the stereotype because it was a heroin addict. But here's another example of me not reading the whole script because I didn't see the dope fiend part of it. So I was just being myself, and they wanted to see how you were away from being drugged out and everything. And that's what got me to roll on that show.
That's awesome. He is Donnell
sir.
Rawlings. He's going to be at the Houston Improv this weekend. You mentioned the Chappelle show.
Yeah.
My favorite skit is the player haters ball.
Right.
It's the best. Hit me, baby. Like that.
Another fun fact. I'm gonna give y'all all the fun facts.
Hit me.
I wasn't supposed to be in that scene.
You weren't?
I asked Neil Brennan, I said, what's the next sketch I'm being? He said, player haters ball. I said, okay. Then I looked at the casting sheet and my name wasn't on there. He said, oh yeah, I forgot. He said, come up with something. This is what he told me. That character is not on any script anywhere.
So you just improv that.
I said, you know what? My hair's bald for whatever reason, age or whatever, it just don't grow like I want it. So I said, I want to change my look. I said, give me a Jerry Curl wig. 5 Heartbeats, one of my favorite movies. I said, I want an outfit with shiny, like gawky stuff, right? And like on that show, I never really talked to myself. I said, I needed every type of prop to make me funny or look before I even said anything. So I went to props. I said, I want a champagne bottle and I want Jerry Curl juice on it. And every time I squirt my hair, it's just going to be they was like, that's going to be too sloppy. So they gave me an aerosol can and I still didn't have a name. I wasn't even on this script. I'm walking around. I still don't have a name, right? So I walk past a mirror and I say, man, I feel beautiful. I'm lying to myself. I said, I feel beautiful. Ding, ding, ding. Beautiful. You beautiful. I went to Neil. I said, I got a name. He said, what? I said, beautiful. He said, kill it. Every word out of my mouth in that sketch was all improv.
That's awesome.
Everything. Mostly everything I ever did on that show was all improv.
How many times did you guys just bust out laughing? I saw some of the outtakes that
We
they
did
showed.
a lot.
Because I imagine that part. You're just all roasting
But
the
we
hell
didn't
out
have.
of each
But
other.
we didn't have a discipline. You know, not in a bad way. But we was free to like Dave trusted that we could do it. We always had a script. I don't want to disrespect any of the writers that put the work into that stuff. But they also knew it was something natural. We had a natural ability that we was very competitive with each other. If you said something funny, I want to say something funnier. And then like a lot of people don't do it, but we got a sense of comedic timing when it's kind of like when we did SNL, you could be in the middle of doing something funny, nobody's ever gonna laugh. Nobody's gonna because it costs money.
Right.
But we would be in fun of something, and it would be so funny we couldn't help it, and that just gave us the energy to go into it with what we just did and just keep it going. It was fun working on a project. Miss my man
awesome.
Charlie Murphy, Miss Rich Voss, man, and so much love to anybody that was part of making that show television history.
And you mentioned the late Charlie Murphy. Did Charlie just sit down with you guys and tell the story at first, and you guys didn't even know where it was going, and then all of a sudden
just like
turned
it was
into
just
something else?
It was lunchtime. It was like anytime you had a chance to talk to Charlie, and that was just one or two stories. Charlie had a million stories, and in some stories Charlie got, I'll just let he took him to his grave. I'm going to take him to my grave.
Okay,
I'll just leave it like that. But he was like one of the most engaging storytellers because you never knew if he was lying or telling the truth. Then when you found out the lie that there was a lie was the truth, you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. But a great storyteller. Never did stand up when we were doing the show. We were working on the show. We needed to make money. I came up with the idea of doing a Rich Bitch tour, right? I got Neil Brennan, not Neil Brennan, Bill Burr, who was coming up.
yeah.
Bill Burr wasn't who he is now, but I was like, I want to make this tour hot. And Bill Burr nobody was going to the Rich Bitch tour to see Bill Burr. There's no disrespect, but I knew, because I put it together, I knew that Bill Burr, out of everybody on that show, he gonna fire that room up. So it was Charlie with MC, Bill would feature, and I would headline. And it was like we did it in I think for like a year and a half, and we killed it. And Bill went on, and everybody knew Bill's projection was to be a comedic superstar, and he's doing everything.
He's awesome. He's awesome too. But you've been great, man. Donnell, this has been so awesome.
Thank you, man.
Make sure you check out Donnell Rawlings at the Houston Improv this weekend. I will stop by on Saturday.
Don't choke up because I'm going to talk trash about you.
Please do.
I just put it like this. If you like me on HBO's The Wire, if you like me on Chappelle Show, if you like me on BMF, if you like me in Spider-Man 2, if you like me in The Corner, if you like me in any of those things, I will guarantee you, if you come see me do live stand-up comedy, you will become a lifelong fan.
Donnell, this has been great. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, I'm going to see you Saturday.
Sounds good.
All right, brother.